We don't have a moderator, so it's going to be awkward. we had an idea. You guys want to hear our idea? Amy's going to come up with a trivia question from My Little Pony.
Oh my gosh.
Whoever gets it right is going to sit in that chair for the panel.
Oh my goodness.
She didn't know that she was going to come up with a trivia question.
I can only think of an easy one.
No, it has to be hard. It has to be really, these are experts.
I know they're experts.
Oh no.
I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that I was just put on the spot to come up with.
But you have time.
I've had
Take your time.
Oh my
Everybody watch Amy while she thinks.
Cue Jeopardy music.
I don't know if they know lyrics. Wait. Sorry.
What key?
Yeah.
4 minutes.
Okay, does anybody know what song I based the Smile song off of?
That's a great question. Great. Don't shout it out. Raise your hands.
Oh God.
No, we can't see it.
It's not the same melody, it's just the same vibe.
Anyone?
So in
Right
the
here?
script it says it should be like...
Right here in the white.
No.
Where?
What's
In
the...
you in the front pushing.
No. Though I can give a hint off of that.
Oh, I know.
There is a word in that title that is in the title of the song I based it on. Yes.
It's hard.
No. But that's part of Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie.
Come on, you guys. This is for a coveted seat. Right there.
Yes, you.
Is it Walking on Sunshine?
Yes!
Come on.
Bring that guy up here. It's going to be so awkward for you sitting here for an hour.
What was your episode about?
Do you guys know what we're doing in this panel?
Sign autographs, Larson.
And story editors on the show.
Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Amy Keating Rogers. 1, 2, 4, and 5.
After season 3.
I did not write on season 3. What happened? Well, you want my honest answer? If you want.
Yes.
I wasn't asked to write on season 3. I know, it's a sad answer.
It's going to be a lot of
A panel of tea.
But instead, I'm a story editor of characters, so it all worked out just fine.
He's here. Can we get his mic?
What's your name? Esting? All right.
We have a new moderator.
I'm Shakespeare, please. And now I guess I'm going to be on 4 panels this convention. Where were you last night? I didn't see you at the bar truck.
We got stuck in DC. We didn't get to like night.
Alright, well I guess I'll just find a free tonight then. Okay, I am Nick Confalone. I'm a writer on the show. I started season 5 and wrote and am still writing up through now. And I've been story editing and running Equestria Girls for the last 2 years.
I wrote on seasons 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7.
Wow.
Story editor part of season 5. But you probably know me best from my work on the Adventures of Chuck and Friends. Yes, all of those fine titles. So what we're going to do here is the 3 of us we picked one of our scripts each, and we're going to show you some things about how they went from premise to episode.
This is the behind the scenes that has ever been seen.
Behind the scenes. Nick's going to go first. It's 10.
Oh, let's go, 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 go. Start it up. Guys, I'm going to talk to you about Party Boot. But the story, as I put this together, I realized it's actually sort of a story of myself and my journey of tears, of learning how to write on the show. Because before this, I'd never written on My Little Pony. Up to that point, I'd done a lot of boys action stuff, and that's where I met Mitch, actually. We worked together with Kick Bukowski, and we had done a couple of things before that. But I came into this thinking that I knew what I was doing, but writing Party Group was like having my head held underwater for 3 months straight. Very difficult.
Sheesh.
So here's how things go from start to finish. Step 1 is the Story Summit, where you preach that proof. So I was invited to the Story Summit. It's very exciting. And what that is, for those of you who don't know, it's a bunch of writers sitting around pitching ideas. There's Mitch in the middle.
Oh man.
It's really dark since then.
Gamer has not aged well.
There we go. So here's my actual notes from that meeting. You know, you bring in a bunch of, they're called log lines. It's like 1 or 2 sentences. And so at some point, I was like, hey guys, what about, you know, so like 7 years in Equestria, Pinkie Pie loses her mojo. She goes on a journey of self-discovery across Equestria, eating berries that make her trip with Face Off, and maybe she meets a spirit guy, grows a beard, you know, etc. Etc. An episode. That's what episodes are like. And to my surprise, based off of that nothingness, boom, logline approved. So now I just have to come up with a story, right? Luckily, step 2 is you don't just jump right into the script, you write a premise. And a premise is a 1-page or so document, and Mitch kind of helped break the story with me a little bit. It's sort of the 30,000-foot view. I'm not going to read it word for word, but this is word for word of kind of what it was. So basically, the story was that we came up with, there's a party that needs planning. It was going to be a Cutie Mark anniversary party, and everyone assumes Pinkie Pie will plan this party naturally, but oh no, she doesn't have any ideas. She's lost her inspiration. No matter what she does, she can't think of anything. So she decides to go on a vision quest all across Equestria. And meanwhile, while she's gone, her friends sort of had this oversimplified conception of who Pinkie Pie was. They try to figure out how to plan a party without her, and they all kind of imitate her and try to channel Pinkie Pie, and it fails disastrously, and they ultimately find her party cave. So that was there since the very beginning. Meanwhile, Pinkie's vision quest culminates in a journey atop the mountain where she meets a party planning guru who was maybe going to be cheese sandwich, question mark, it said. And so you may be wondering, the big question of the hour, where are the yaks? Where are the yaks? They came next in the story-breaking session, which took place in a room over at Hasbro called the Pound Puppies Room. These are our emails. I thought the Pound Puppies Room really sounded adorable. I said, you guys have the best conference room names I've ever heard. Mitch wrote back, wait until you see the Pound Puppies Room. And I said, how depressing can it be? And the answer is really So it was in this room where we said, well, what kind of party is this? Mitch was the story editor at the time and put the smackdown on it and said, it can't be a Cutie Mark party, we're doing something else with a Cutie Mark party, or that's a stupid idea, I don't remember what it was. But so we said, well, she's a princess now, so maybe it's something international relations, foreign horses could be coming. What's a foreign horse? Is a yak a foreign horse? I think Mitch might have said, they could be from Yakistan. And I said, that's stupid, it's Yakistan. That's how the Yakistan. So after that comes the outline, where you outline that poop. And an outline is kind of intimidating because you have to flesh out every moment of the story. But Mitch was there to offer a few suggestions here and there, like just like light little nudges. Oh my God! Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a few parts that are kind of interesting. One of them you can see, the original idea was that the yaks didn't actually talk and they were going to just have yak sounds and Fluttershy would translate for them, so they kind of or however yak sounded.
Merp, merp, merp.
And then the Act 1, the main story opened with Pinkie Pie singing a party inspiration song where she would go all over town trying to find inspiration, except jumping ahead. They gave the note, Season 2, in place of a party inspiration song, could we show the other ponies trying and failing to impress the yaks? There's too much saying how bad it's going. It would be really fun to see. Okay, we'll try that. Later in the outline, it's Pinkie Pie's adventure. She gallops through the jungle. There's spears flying at her from all directions. I was just trying to find something to impress the yaks. She calls back to an angry tribe of lemurs. She skids to a stop. They're closing in. They stop. One of them points. Caution that the ancient is wings. What a surprise. Caution that the Pinkie Pie statue is not their god and that they are clearly not worshipping it. We avoid religious elements in children's programming. Maybe my next idea, Pinkie Pie's been painted white for the lemur welcoming ceremony. We have tribal drumming that gets more intense than the visual tribe. The visual style becomes surreal. A cave painting, like lemur shaman, shows a cave painting Pinkie Pie a vision of her future self. Tribal drumming, they've been anything by something and something that was supposed to be the only one of them except that we're stereotyping. Stern, but fair.
See how this fuels creativity? All these notes?
This is just the beginning. And then, just to kind of give you a glimpse of what happened, the idea was that she eventually found her way to the top of a mountain where Cheese Sandwich was there, but I was told he couldn't get the voice of Weird Al to do it again, so he had taken a vow of silence. That's called writing, it's clever. And she met a party planning guru named Lampshade, who was just like, partying all the time! And he said, are you here to replace me? And she went, what? And he said, I'm out of here! And then just left her there, and now you have to stay on top of the mountain, Pinkie Pie. And she had failed. And they were like, approved with all those notes. So on to the first draft. It opened totally differently. It opened up with Twilight and Spike organizing the books, and they were totally caught off guard by the Yaks arriving early. And Pinkie Pie, Twilight was sort of more focused on her, being like, oh my gosh, it's so good to meet you. The Yaks aren't welcome. Oh, it's a misunderstanding. Oh, ponies don't like Yaks. Yaks burn a question to the ground. That's pretty intense. What page are we on again? This got noted to death. We thought it made total sense that Pinkie Pie would do like a Werner Herzog-esque narration of her own quest. So we had her...
So my quest begins.
The Germans brought this pharaoh yet if I am entered to entertain our quest. No, they said, don't do that, that doesn't make any sense. We also kind of fell down this rabbit hole that we kind of thought was funny, where she meets this leaf that's kind of shaped like a cupcake, and so she calls it Cupcake Leaf. And then it was kind of like Wilson and Castaway, the volleyball, where Cupcake Leaf follows her along, and Cupcake Leaf, let's go, this will be my companion, and its name shall be Cupcake Leaf. And off they go, and then later she's like, Cupcake Leaf, this is it, we're going up to the top of the mountain. And then she says, Cupcake Leaf, I really love you, I just want to tell you, and then, no, it's so sad, because when she fails, Cupcake Leaf dies, and she goes, Cupcake Leaf, no, Cupcake Leaf! So there were 3 groups of notes that come from the Hub, and they come from Discovery Family, they come from DHX. It said, what a fresh, fun voice from Nick. There's some really cool moments in this episode. Woohoo! Hasbro Studios were still super psyched about meeting a brand new race, but there's some finessing we need to do. Right? DHX, we can appreciate that this is Nick's first stab on the show, and that he's still getting used to the tone and characters' voices, but we have some major concerns.
Oh!
By the way, DHX always has major concern.
So on to the second draft, where you fix all those problems. And so the way we decided to fix them, they thought the opening was a little confusing. Why didn't Twilight know about the Yaks coming? Of course she would know. So we added in a whole lot of complicated stuff to explain it, you know? Oh, who are these guys? The Yaks, well, they're not welcome yet. Oh, there was a calendar misunderstanding. Ponies use calendars? Yaks hate calendars! Smash! That'll explain it. And then they wanted to clarify Pinkie Pie's motivation. So we went through and added a whole long speech and a whole thing where Spike said, you know what the problem is? Nobody knows anything about Yaks. Then Pinkie Pie got this idea, that's about to change, but it was pretty complicated. And then we also wanted to make her journey pay off in the end somehow, so we added a whole lot of complicated stuff to that too. If you remember the Yeti that she meets, it used to be that we cut to her with the Yeti and she's braiding his hair, and then she goes, oh no, he didn't, girlfriend, you gotta stand up for yourself, don't let him treat you like that. And it didn't quite work either, it wasn't quite on voice. And the last thing, this could be a fun game. Who can spot the first time pony writer mistake here? She's on the horses, they're racing towards Dead Pony's Ravine, and you can read, it's snoring sounds from Chairs Jubilee. Pinkie Pie reaches for the reins, fumbles them, and they drop. The horses gallop faster. The horses can think and talk in this show, but I guess I forgot. And so they just went right over the side, because they didn't know what to do. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 pages of notes, and at the end they said, thanks. The step 7, the polish. You know, the polish, the step where all you gotta do is just fix the last little things that are wrong with your otherwise perfect script that by now has been just written to perfection. So, I didn't know it. I was like, they should have fired me a long time ago. I wrote an email to Mitch that said, I think we have to start over. Addressing their notes on the script has turned it into an unfunny, unclear piece of garbage. What if we looked at removing all the things that caused their notes in the first place? And Mitch said, I agree completely. What if we got on the phone, hammered out a simple beat sheet, we could be in business? This got too overcomplexified trying to address everything. We jumped on the phone, we talked it all out. This may start to sound more like the episode. We came up with 5 points. This is all from an email. Pinkie Pie's goal needs to be concrete. Let's try to make Ponyville feel like Yakistan. And then number 2, the vision quest is never going to work as we conceived it. So what if we made it not existential? Instead, she's trying to get to Yakistan and find out what they want for a party. While she's gone, forget that B story about trying to really understand Pinkie Pie. It's just going to be jokes aplenty. Ponies and Spike try to cheer them up, entertain them, and stall. And alas, she doesn't make it to Yakistan, but in failing, her friends discover the Pinkie Pie party planning cave, which they cheer her up. Those 2 stories come together, which gives her the big idea that we shouldn't be trying to make Equestria feel like they're home. We should be trying to make them feel at home in Equestria. And I vividly remember Mitch saying, if you make it sound like it flips it around, it sounds true. So that'll be a good friendship lesson.
Dumb.
We were desperate. And so 24 hours later, already moved episode 501. It was pretty much exactly what aired. Except for one thing, and by this point I was just completely unprepared to push back on anything. I was just amazed that they said, we like it. And by the way, they meant we like it. Here's another 12 pages of notes, but they were like very specific line changes and things like that. So I was like overjoyed. But I just wanted to point out, there was one scene that I agreed, okay, let's just cut it, but in hindsight, I wish we hadn't, because I think it did an important job in the script, which is, you know, there's 2 kinds of stakes. There's the actual stakes, the physical stakes, which is burning Equestria to the ground, but there's emotional stakes too, and I didn't really prepare a cohesive argument for why we should keep this scene, but the very first scene, after the Yaks arrive and they trash everything, after the theme song, it originally opened up with a soft scene with Twilight and 3 Yaks walking through that's some other joke, forget about that. But it opened with this scene where Twilight says, don't worry about the mess back there, we'll get it all cleaned up, I'm just glad you arrived safely. And Prince Rutherford said, if things not perfect, Yaks get mad. Yaks always get mad when things not perfect. She said, I know Yaks have short tempers, but that's not going to stop us from becoming friends. And she leads into a balcony overlooking Ponyville, and the Yaks are taken back with a beautiful view. Yaks have no friends. Yaks don't know why. Twilight says it could be any number of reasons, really, not necessarily because you smash something when you get mad. Either way, I promise that by tomorrow morning, Ponies and Yaks will be best friends. For 1,000 moons? She nods. Now, I know you've never left Yakistan, so we planned a whole day filled with things to remind you of home. Does that sound good? Pony nice. Yaks like nice pony. And Twilight's a little embarrassed, and she says, enjoy the food. I'm going to round up the welcoming committee, and we're going to get to it. And I wish we kept that because I do think it would have been really nice to care about why the Yaks need friends and why it matters if they have friends or not. But by that point, I was just so relieved that I wasn't fired that I didn't say anything about it. I shared it with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed hearing the story of Party Beach.
That's great.
Now we're going to switch the dongle.
Okay, mine is way less fancy and PowerPointy and like that stuff. But I'm talking about the main attraction.
Yes.
And I started, so I just finished writing, I think, the 2nd draft of the Cutie Mark.
Can you guys start talking?
Crusaders of the Lost Mark.
Great episode.
And then I got this. Hold on, not that one. So I got this email from Megan. It said, awesome job on the musical. lyrics are terrific. I'm going to forward this to Melinda. Are you crazy busy at the moment? I'm short a writer and might have one more script if you're available. And I wrote back, if you read from the bottom, and I said, I'm not crazy busy, I actually cut that one. And she says, oh, this is the episode that's going to star Lena Hall, who won the Tony for Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And my first response was, okay, no pressure. You know, just a normal little response. Then I said, I got more excited. I said, and I told people with children, I said, that's fucking awesome! I wanted to be the one to write it for her. And then I was still trying to process this. And I'm like, am I writing lyrics for her? So basically it went from, yeah, I'm available, my head exploded, and then I began to shake a bit. So Megan actually originally wrote the premise for this, and so it was called Going Gaga. Because, as you may know, it was based on Lady Gaga, but her name at that point was called Duchess Frivolity, and then her given name was Daisy Whimsical. And we pretty much knew that that name was not going to stick. And they were going to have a concert called Ponchella.
Oh man.
Apple Acres. And Applejack was going to be in charge of it, and because it was at Sweet Apple Acres, she was going to be in charge of, like, not just running everything, but dealing with the talent. And then future Rah Rah shows up, and she has this huge entourage with her in the premise. And she still has her manager, but he's kind of put upon and having a rough time because the entourage are asking for all these things and just really kissing Duchess Frivolity's butt over this whole thing. And in the end, it's Applejack that brings it back around, and then Duchess offers Applejack a job and says, hey, want to be my manager? So that's how the premise was, and that originally got approved. So then we had our story meeting, and we hashed out all the details. I'm trying to see. Okay, so originally the teaser was them like rattling off all these band names that were pony puns, and even Granny Smith knew them. And but then there's this, the big headliner got announced, bigger than Sapphire Shores, and then we had something about that Granny Smith knows this like fancy dance that the kids are doing now. And she's like, youth is wasted on the wrong fillies, because Applejack doesn't know what's going on and she's not hip. So it was this big setup teaser about the concert, which still happens, but very differently. And we were trying to tie in one of the books that Jillian wrote that had all of these pony names, pony band names in there. And these are my notes, which you can see are super detailed.
Can I just point out that every good act break should end with what?
Yes. Applejack at the end of Act 1, what? So yes. And then she comes back on what? And continues because she's seen Gaga and she's like, what the heck? And then at the end of Act 2, which, I think this is also a good way to end any act, Applejack is sad. So, it's dark. It's either your oh shit moment or it's like, shit. So then, I know it's going to have songs, and I don't know if you can see there, but it's like being true to yourself, being true to your vision, being true to you, be yourself. So, and we knew that her original song was supposed to be really, over the top, and you couldn't understand the lyrics and all auto-tune, and then it's stripped down, because I don't know if you've ever seen Lady Gaga, when she's just sitting at a piano, and she's amazing. And that was all of Megan's, that's what inspired the whole story. So, those are my meeting notes. But then I knew I needed a different name for Countess Coloratura, well, the future Countess Coloratura. So these are just my notes. Can you see them? I'm blowing this up. Hold on. Woo. So I'm like, this is me just spitballing on my own. It says, truly, Amina. I don't know if Amina means truly or Aminia, and then I was going to the music things, aria, rhapsody, rococo, duchess, countess, contessa, baroness, and then last line, Countess Contessa Coloratura Rara. So that was just me trying to do this. And I'm blowing it up. Hold on. Okay, hold on. So, okay.
Zoom in. Enhance.
So it says, hey Megan, I've been thinking about Lena's character name. One of the names is Coloratura and her stage name is Countess Coloratura or Countessa. What I like about this is that Coloratura actually means coloring in Italian. So she could use cool colors and her cute remark could be colorful musical notes. Now, I know Lena is not a coloratura soprano, which is like really, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's a really high voice. But I was reading up on the term, and it also means ornamentation. Since this character is going over the top with her ornamentation, I thought this is fitting. I was thinking that when she and Applejack were kids, AJ could think that this name is over the top, and this is stuff, you know. And she could give her the nickname Ra-Ra, Ra-Ra. When her friends tell her Countess Coloratura is headlining, AJ could say, I don't know anything about any Countess, but I had a friend named Coloratura when I was just a filly. And she called her Ra-Ra because Coloratura was just too fancy. AJ could note that she did have an amazing, colorful, pure voice she's ever heard. She knew she was destined for great things. Then she hears the horrible auto-tune, it's not the same, she can't even hear her friend's voice, and then there's all the crap on stage, all the ornamentation and distractions. Later when Ra-Ra asks AJ's advice, this is important, on all the crazy stuff, AJ said that she doesn't know about all that highfalutin stuff. She doesn't need all that junk or that silly name. After all, Ra-Ra is not really a countess. For AJ, it comes back to Coloratura's voice, the colors and purity of it. If anything, her name should be Color Pura, because that's how her voice always sounded to her, and she's never needed, and that's all she ever needed up on stage. What do you think? And Megan says, great, I love it. And I say, groovy, okay. And then also my daughter pointed out that in Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, they go rah, rah. So I thought that was cool too. So that's how that name came about. And I was very, very, very pleased with my noting of the color of Pura, and that comes into play later. So then, I had to write the outline, and if I can so this was the outline originally. Okay, so it's supposed to start with all of these pony pun names, and oh, look at this list. We got Cold Hay, and the Hooves, and Maisie, and Philly Joel, and Britney Spurs, and
Britney Spurs.
And Applejack's like, I don't know who any of these people are. And Apple Blue, so it's like, Apple was like, what? You've never heard of Goatee Hay? And 9-inch Tails?
We had to have an episode with Britney Spurs and she was based with Maine.
30 Seconds to Mares. The Talking Birds. I mean, and AJ, Applejack hasn't heard of any. And then Granny Smith comes running in, the Red Hot Chili Peppers performing in Coachella. And just a side note, I hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Whatever.
Oh, you just
Well, but the name was so funny, I put it in there. And so I was like, no, don't do that. So even Granny Smith has heard of these bands, and she's like, please, just because the shine's off the apple doesn't mean it's lost its crunch. And Granny Smith goes in to demonstrate that she keeps up with all the dances, the buck and ruckus, the hoof stomp shuffle, and the latest is the cutie boot scoot. And she starts dancing, and Applejack's like, what the hell? That's what it was supposed to be. And then pretty much it's all the same. The big thing, again, in this version is that you have the entourage instead of just the manager. And I don't have time, so I'm not going to read all that stuff because it's basically what you know. And then you know, you get the notes, as Nick has pointed out. Like,
really fun.
They're like, and Megan responded to it. Okay, I'm blowing this up again. Okay. So it's like kudos on what's going to be an amazing showcase for Lena. Fingers crossed on, so we're hoping that the manager was going to be played by Neil Patrick Harris. So that, yeah, I know. I'm running out of time. Crap on a cracker. Okay, so Okay, so, sorry. So I had, we had, basically their note in this was, we should just have it be the manager and not all of the other ponies. The entourage, just keep it simple, which is actually a fantastic note to get. It's like, yeah, let's keep the villain, if we're gonna have a villain, let's have it just be one pony. And then it went into, I know we've been throwing around the name Ponchella for a bit, but it sounds kind of odd, and when written, looks weird. Which is what your main concern is when you have something that is going to be recorded, that it looks weird. Can we come up with a different name? Don't think it needs to be a pun. And we're open to using pony puns for the band names, but the references for the bands and rappers is bumping us, especially when you have, Sapphire Shores thrown in there. So I was like, okay. But at the same time, they also said, nice job tying in one of our pony books from the show. So it was these two conflicting messages of, hey, great job with this, but can we cut this? It's like, I don't know.
Conflicting messages and notes.
So then, so scene 11, Color of Pura sounds a little odd to us. Is there a different way AJ could get the idea across to her friend? And I said, sure, but bummer. And again, they said, fun episode, and, oh yeah, this is my favorite. So, just a bit of logic question off the top. If at the beginning it says that they are building a stage for a concert, if Applejack and Big Mac are building a stage, how do they not know about the upcoming concert? My response was, what? Of course they know. That's what they're building it for. How drunk are they when they read these out? And then, as far as the band names, they didn't like them because it sounded like the Flintstones. And I said, who doesn't love the Flintstones? And where's...
Two Flintstones.
Sorry, trying to find it. Sorry, I'm choking.
Breathe.
So, I'm so running out of time. Okay, so now I'm going to talk, so the teaser was what? Load up, sorry. Okay. So much. Do that. Yay. Nice. Okay, so again, at this point, it's Applejack not knowing what the heck is going on. So this is like, I don't know if you guys are like this, but one of the hardest things I ever have to accomplish is getting that teaser done and trying to make it funny because you only have about 3 pages for the teaser. And so I seriously, this is the first version of it, and it's talking all about these band names. And then the second version of the teaser, still we're talking about the band names.
Do you guys know what a teaser is? It's that little piece before the main titles.
So it's still Applejack being like, I've never heard of all these bands. And then Granny Smith coming in and here she's doing something called the wing-a-ding-ding. And she says, wing-a-ding-ding, wing-a-ding-ding, flap those colored feathers, give your partner a swing. And as you guys know, none of this is what happened. Okay. Other great stuff happened, and I was going to see.
You guys can't see this, but we have these screens up here, and they have a countdown timer that's 4 feet across. The number counting down.
And he's taking some of this. Yeah. Okay, okay. I'm going to try and cut to some chases here. Okay, so one of the best notes was, Pinkie, when I originally wrote this, Pinkie Pie's hair, when her frizz has been freaked, it says, Pinkie's hair uncurls and goes flat. So that's what I wrote in the first draft. But then Megan changed it to Pinkie Pie's, I should have done a PowerPoint. And the second one, it was, it says Pinkie's hair sproins into an afro. That's what Megan changed it to. And the reasoning, and this was logical, was that Pinkie Pie, when she's depressed, her hair goes straight, right? Fine, that's fantastic. So I was like, okay, that's a really good change. Got it. But then we get a note. I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm just going to tell you about it. So we get this note saying whether Pinkie Pie's hair is an afro. And they're like, I don't know, Pinkie Pie's hair is kind of curly. How is that going to be different when she gets an afro? And so then, so I read the second draft and I'm like, okay, fine. So I made it straight again. And then we get the note saying, Pinkie Pie's hair only goes straight when she's depressed. And then a note from this, so that was from Hasbro, a note from DHX was, how about an afro? And I can't really repeat what Megan said, but she was a little annoyed. So then, in my third draft, I said that Pinkie Pie's hair became like Frankenstein. And then they did whatever they did. Originally Sven Gallup's name was Pony Baloney. And everybody's like, that's a really obvious name that he's not a nice guy. And so then Megan said, can it be like a Svengali type name? And Svengali is this character in literature who is this guy that controls this this woman named Trilby. And I was like, okay, well, what kind of name can I come up with that? And then I had this email exchange with my husband. So he got an email from this person that says, hi folks, I looked at your actual photo. I love you a lot. We should chat. I'm a girl with only series about mail. And my husband writes, oh my. And I write, my oh my. And he says, obviously true love, very sincere. And I said, I understand that you must leave me. And he says, wow, that was quick. I leave for a couple hours and I'm literally out the door. Really, she means nothing to me. And I said, I just don't want you to give up on your true love. And he said, oh, in that case. And then he completely changes the subject. I think there's a Fossilman's ice cream around here. And I was like, okay. I said, yum. And then I changed the subject. Hey, I need to replace Pony Baloney. Megan wants a Svengali type name. Thoughts? And he said, Sven Pony. Galley up. And I said, Sven Gallop? And that's how that name came about.
From the divorce.
So, since I'm totally out of time, I'm going to stop there. And hand it over.
We had to watch, just go through 7 or 8 pictures to find the sexiest one. Just so you know, the preparation he put in.
All right, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of this episode. The original writer of the 100th episode was right there, MLP Writers. She did how many different ideas for this? How many different ideas did you have to do?
Oh my gosh, I have so many different ideas for this. It was called The Other Main Six, The Grand Tour of Equestria, The Princess of Stress, The Wedding in Ponyville, 100th episode premise. We began to just give up. And then 22 shorts on Equestria. So I was constantly around, I don't even know.
We tried to get something that they would agree to, and it just wasn't happening. And then there was one day where Amy, Megan, and I were in a room. We were trying to figure out how to do this. It was super late already. And Amy came up with this idea of doing a wedding as a framing story, because then you can include food and dresses and all the attendees, music, and all these elements we could elements we could pull from. And it was all three of us was like, there it is, that's it, we got it, that's our framing play. So then Amy went and wrote, not this, not the thing I'm showing you, something else. And they were like, man.
Yeah.
So then I had a conversation with Amy because I was writing about the Lost Treasure of Griffinstone, which got approved. And Amy was sitting there rewriting, and not getting paid. And I said, you want to just swap and get paid? And she said, yes. So that's when I took over this, and I started all over again because This one was really tough because the hub was heavily involved, and they usually weren't. They were usually pretty hands off, but they wanted to stunt cast it and get all these David Tennant and Jeff Bridges and all these big voices. None of them actually happened. And so this is Amy's original premise before she left. So this is, okay, so I mean, even when I took it over, I didn't really know what to do, because from conception, I thought it was a terrible idea to showcase the background ponies, because you guys have made characters out of them. And for us, Lyra is not Lyra, it's background pony number 3. You know, she doesn't have any personality. You guys made them into living characters, and who am I to come along and stomp on what you created and say, "You're wrong, this is Lyra." But they were like, "Do it." So I was sitting and I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This is horrible. There's no way to do this that's going to be good. And then I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. I was at my office and I was like, I know what to do. Just accept that this is a fan episode and just go for it. Just go all out. And you can see here's some batshit insanity on a page. That's what it was. I was like, I'm just going to throw every single reference, pandering, everything I could possibly make. And then I was on. Then I was like, oh, I like this. That one was 4 or 5 pages, and mine was 10 pages long for the same 22 minutes, because it was so filled with characters and references and so many things that got cut. There's a lot of stuff that got cut out.
Did you know a lot of this stuff before this, or did you have to dive in and learn a lot of this?
What I try to do, as you can see here in the second paragraph, my operating theory is to take some small thing that has been seen in the show. For example, how Bon Bon always has a different voice every time she speaks, and somehow make a character out of that. What I didn't want to do is take fan ideas and put them in the show. I wanted to try to take things out of the show from these background characters, so that's where I came up with the idea that she was an undercover agent because she keeps having different voices. So I just took little things like that and tried to spin them out into characters, because I knew if I took what you guys had done, it would not end well. And the only thing that at that point they really wanted was, there's 3 acts. They wanted to have Derpy and Dr. Hoops together, they wanted to have Lyra and Bon Bon together, and Octavia and Bon Scratch together. And other than that, I couldn't do what I wanted. So I wanted to weave them all together through each other's stories and just have it be like batshit insanity. Just craziness. You have to watch it 3 or 4 times to get all the references. It wasn't quite as intense as I'd hoped, but I think it came out really well.
I think you accomplished that.
So here's an outline. This is an original outline. So there's only 3 pages because I think it was trying to get across. Can you see it? So I had things in here like Namby-Pamby, who was referenced in Ponyville Confidential, we never actually saw her. So enter Namby, this is when Featherweight is printing the invites. Enter Namby-Pamby, the previous editor, Featherweight's older sister. She changed the settings because Featherweight uses a sans serif font like an amateur. He says she changed the date and now everybody's expecting a wedding tonight, so that explains why they were wrong. That got changed, obviously. It's actually better that it was Derby's fault. In my original one, Final Scratch talked because I didn't know she didn't talk, so for me, she was Brad Pitt in True Romance. I don't know if you guys have seen that. You should watch True Romance anyways, it's an amazing movie, but when you see Brad Pitt, you'll still know that's what I wanted Final Scratch to be. But then Hasbro was like, she doesn't talk! And I'm like, yeah, none of them talk. What do you mean she doesn't talk? So then, this is the one I love that they cut. So while you're flying all around all over the place, the doctor races past Cranky, who's himself frantically running the other way trying to get ready for the wedding. He's carrying armloads of flowers and things and hopping alongside of his Flash Sentry. And he's like, I don't understand. I watch your wagon every Saturday. I break your lawn. Why am I not invited to the wedding? And Cranky's like, there's something about you I just don't like. To their credit, Hasbro was like, we love this joke, but it's just too much of an inside joke, so they cut it. Then I had these characters, Dinky Doo, Truffle Shuffle, and Apple Bites, arguing about who's the best princess, and they kept popping in saying, no, who's the best princess? Who's it going to get? So here's Lyra is aghast. She says their whole friendship has been a lie, and that explains why your voice is always different. It's all been an act. So that's basically how I try to come up with these 6 characters who weren't actually characters, just like I said, finding something in canon. This was a great joke that, you know, Sabrina Alberghetti, the Sitsi, the board artist, this is her joke that I thought was so hilarious. Everybody's pouring into the wedding at the end of the episode, the guests are milling about coming in, and a group of background ponies walks out, and another group of background ponies walks out, and they're identical except they're different colors, they're recolored. And they look at each other and like, oh, this is embarrassing. It's such a good meta joke, it would have fit perfectly in the episode, but it got cut for some reason. Yeah, you could do a fan cut. I had a thing where Lyra had been kicked out of Octavia's band, and then they made up at the end of the wedding. They got together and they kind of buried the hatchet. That got kind of really complicated, but I like the idea that at the wedding, all these people who have been in conflict were now kind of coming together over love. And then this was my favorite joke of the whole episode, and it got cut, which was that in the middle of the craziness, you cut outside, and Celestia's Royal Guard and Lynn's Bat Ponies are standing outside waiting, cracking each other up with Monty Python-esque impersonations.
That would have been hilarious.
I got that because I worked for a really famous director in New York, and I used to hang out with his drivers all the time. He had multiple drivers. And his drivers would do this. They would like impersonate him. It was so funny. So I figured their guards would while they're off duty, like making fun of the Barry Sean rolls in with a cask and is like, told you I'd take care of Matilda. She's supplying all the booze for the And then my original ending, which I'm glad changed, was an establishing shot of the venue outside. It's the sunset washes over Ponyville. Everything's beautiful in the magic hour. We see the main 6 standing outside watching the ceremony. And there in the orange-hued sky, we see a distant swarm of changeling fairy lights. Slightly different spot. I'm glad they cut that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This is, okay, so this is the actual outline. You can see it's 10 pages long. And it's filled with like footnotes and hyperlinks. You know, so if anybody at DHX or Hasbro click on this, it would link to the MLP wiki of who these people are. Minuet, Bronycon, Snooty Waiter. The Boulder is Tom. Namby Pamby. It's got footnotes. The whole thing was like, you can see who all these characters are. Yeah, and then I also wanted them to add more. Like, put more in. The more that you can't have too many. I don't think there's anything I was going to show you. The biggest thing to change in this whole episode is the 3rd act. I'll show you that in a minute. So yeah, it's 10 pages long for the same 22 minutes. That's how fast it's supposed to be.
Jeez.
This is just a document that they wanted me to make that is a compendium of all these characters.
Wow. This shows how insane it is and how amazing it is, all the stuff you guys do, because it really is like Incidental Pony 4, Incidental Pony 5, like they're nothing.
Yeah.
I guess the rain is starting early.
Sorry, you guys.
I knew we could.
I'll just read it to you. So I wanted to show you this because this is an email I got from the story editor on Cutie Mark Chronicles, and it says, they understand why we had our act breaks in the middle of flashbacks, but are wondering whether we might want to cut outside the story so the Crusaders reacting. Cleared to go to script. One note, no problem.
Oh, you got it on blink mode, that's the problem.
I'm just gonna let it put you guys. Oh, but it's not up there. We put it up there. This is a visual gag. Okay, so here's the extent of my notes on Cutie Mark Chronicles, right? Here's my notes on Slice of Life.
Whoa!
See them?
Kinda. That's no.
It doesn't like full screen. You can see Vince. Okay, so look, you guys.
Good lord.
Look at the notes. Look at them.
Just a little.
Look at the notes. Look how much better they're making it. Yeah, this is my favorite one. This reference to Sakura feels obtuse. I'm like, oh, well, let me fix that. No problem. I'll make it less obtuse.
Just call somebody the Z word.
That'd be the cute.
So clearly we were having some miscommunications with how this was working. So I wrote a come to Jesus email to everybody. Hello everyone, apologize in advance for the novel you're about to read, but I've been going through the note. Keep in mind, this is after months and months of working with Amy and me, and just slogging through quicksand. And I'd had it. Going through the notes, talking to the Hasbro guys, I noticed a common theme to some of them that I thought might be good to discuss. From a big picture perspective, the purpose of this episode is to celebrate 100 episodes of MLP, and we've chosen to do that by highlighting the background characters, etc., etc. My concept has been to pack this with as many background and secondary characters as humanly possible. It's intended to go at breakneck speed with a mix of anchor stories and quick gags, coming at you so fast and layered you have to watch twice. That's why the narrative swirls through acts the way it does and has all those little one-shots. It's not about story, it's about energy, energy, energy. So then the rest of this is like, you keep telling me to cut every single gag that's not connected to the story, we're gonna end up with just a boring, regular episode. And my whole point of this email is this is not a regular episode, this needs to be crazy. And to their credit, I just looked, and when they responded, they were like, oh, we didn't really get that, that makes a lot of sense. So then, I still had to deal with this.
Oh, damn. That's not stuff.
But it was a lot easier, because I was like, no, this needs to stay, this needs to stay, this needs to stay. And then we go to script. No, I don't want to download. This is the first draft of the script. Oh my god, oh my gosh, I've less than a minute. There's so many things that got cut, you guys.
God.
Alright, I'll just tell you so many good jokes. 30 seconds. Alright, I'll just tell you the ending. So, well, okay. One thing I've never mentioned about this was there's a whole sequence where Coco Pomelo comes to town. She goes to Golden Harvest. You know Golden Harvest? Yeah. She goes to Golden Harvest house. And Golden Harvest has this like evil mad scientist moment where she's like, Coco Pomelo's, I don't understand why the greatest designer in Ponyville, Rarity, lives here. Or Equestria, Rarity lives here. And Golden Harvest goes completely villainous and she's like, because Rarity embarrassed me and humiliated me in front of everyone when she criticized the color green. I had to dye my mane orange, which, in one episode she's green and another one she's orange. So her backstory is that Rarity ruined her life. Now she's going to show up in this green dress created by the hottest new designer in Equestria, Coco Pomelo, just to stick it in Rarity's face. And then, at the end of it, I can't remember what it was, but Coco Pomelo's like, undercut it somehow, and Golden Harvest just stands there, and she's like, oh, I never really liked green anyways, can you make me a pink one? And Hasbro's like, we have 15 minutes, sorry guys, I'm not going to get to any of this stuff. It's alright. I'll tell you one more thing at the ending. So, there's one thing I want to show you, but I'm not going to have time to do it. So this is my original Act 3, Octavia, and when you come back from the commercial, you're on a stage, and it's kind of surreal. Octavia stands alone on a stage, spotlight. All around her is blackness. She plays her cello somberly, soberly, beautifully. Polite applause from the unseen audience. She feels kind of unsettling. As she picks her tempo up a bit, strange things start to appear behind her in the darkness. Animal eyes, a shadowy moon. The applause becomes the rattle of wind-blown branches. She notices that it keeps playing, faster, more urgently. The stage fades away, and then Sombra appears, and he's got a fiddle.
What?
The devil went down to Georgia between Sombra and Octavia. They have a whole heated battle, and then all of a sudden you hear this thumping beat, and Octavia's like, whoa, what's that? And it wakes her up from this nightmare, and it's Final Scratch's beat. So then that's what leads into the third act between the two of them. And I had the hardest time with the third act because I couldn't quite crack how to do it, and they didn't like it, and fair enough, they were right. So what I ended up doing with the third act mentioned, where the sound booth goes out of control through town, is I stole my own scene from a show that Nick and I used to work on.
But not in a copyright infringing way.
No, of course not. I wrote an episode on Kik Butowski for Disney, where we worked together, where Kik is taking piano lessons. He's this little daredevil. He's taking piano lessons. He's so bored he wants to be outside. So the piano goes crazy running through town. It picks up characters along the way, exactly like the sound of running through town. So I stole my own scene and put it in here, and I think it worked way better. I loved it. I love how DHX did the third act of this episode. It's so good. And here's the royal guard and the bad ponies making fun of princesses. So okay, that's it. That's it. Do we have a Q&A person to handle our Q&A? Somebody with a mic?
Line up in the center.
Line up in the center.
And speaking of bat ponies, I think I speak for everybody when I say that there is a criminal lack of bat ponies in the show.
So true. I totally agree.
I remember keeping the mouse game.
I think there's like, what, a total of
If
2?
they're throwing someone in, you get a step back. They're like, this is mid, this is on the front. So you get questions first.
I'm only counting the ones on those
That
characters.
would have been
No.
did he cut all of those things? Slice them like
Have some sort of garrison. And Flutterbat.
We have 10 minutes, you guys. It's right here.
No kids? No kids? The question has to end with a question mark. Hold on, please.
Yeah, we're not going to question.
Okay. If you were tasked to write an episode where Starlight Glimmer becomes an Alicorn princess, how would you go about it?
Burning.
I feel like for you make people with Alicorn princesses. That's your thing.
I would quit.
No.
I would quit. I would actually.
Okay. Have you brainstormed many bona fide names of real life locations? Like, for example, Saddle Arabia made it into the show. Like, have you ever
Yakistan.
I know I'm personally terrible at pun names. A lot of times I'll just write like Pony Saudi Arabia, and someone later will be like, that's not funny.
Amy's pretty good at it.
Yeah, Amy's clearly.
I mean, yeah, just trying to come up with, I mean, Jillian, I mean, for places are, you know, Lauren came up with a bunch originally, and then, yeah, sometimes you're just inspired and something hits you. I don't sit around and, I wouldn't just sit around and do, you know, just for fun or anything, but if I had to come up with a place, then, yeah, I'm trying to brainstorm that stuff.
It's just off the fire quicker, so like Galloping Ghost Island, Napalm, Maracasa.
See, you're doing it.
I love that the stories behind your stories are so emotional. There's so much like triumph or just deflation. Is this normal? Do you get this into every single story you write? Is it this much of your own personal thing to it?
Yeah, the ones, if you really dig the characters, which I really like this world, I really like these characters, we get really invested because we think we know what's best for them, and then other people think they know what's best for them, and so you get fired up. Whenever Megan would send me notes, she'd say, don't flip your desk. And, yeah, so she knows that my first response is like, ah, and then I have to rage for a bit, and I'm like, ah, and then you calm down a bit.
Yeah, or like pulling an all-nighter, like there's freelance jobs I've had where I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, well, it's done, there's my episode, and on to the next project.
That's
But-
good enough.
Yeah, but if you love it, then you just have to. Like, we can't not.
You want to do the best you can. I also love this thing that happens on this show in particular, like at the end of Slice of Life, where the mayor is giving this really heartfelt speech, and then all the fireworks start going off, and then Peter Dinge is like, it takes love to ignite. And that gives me chills when that happens. It's so like emotional. I love that moment, and I know it's like, I'm awesome, I wrote it. That's not what I'm saying, you guys. I'm saying that, like, I watch it, I'm like, that is so cool that this crazy episode that's not really all that emotional ends in such an emotional way. And that happens on the show a lot, where things like coming together. Like Nick's, some of that stuff he was saying about the emotional elements of his episode that I really miss.
Or like, I mean, the one thing I forgot to mention, like there's a joke at the end of Party Poop where it's like, wow, Pinkie Pie, this party came together really quick, even for you. And that was like clearly just me being like, this episode came together really quick.
Thank you guys. Hi, so my question's for Nick. So for me, I feel like your strong suit with writing for the show is how the characters interact with each other. So I was curious with how late you came into the show, how did you go about learning what the characters were like so you could get those interactions down as well as you could?
Yeah, that's kind of a good question, because I mean, I think part of the problem with Party Poop was, I don't think I see this like with freelance, or you feel yourself doing it. A lot of times when you first come to a show, you find yourself, maybe you trying to introduce your own side of acting things that have nothing to do with character interactions because you're not confident with it, you don't understand it. And you know, you'll just watch the pilot and you'll read a couple episodes, and I think I got it. And throughout the process of writing Party Poop, I just kept watching more episodes and more episodes, and I could feel it kind of getting into my brain and then going like, oh, Cupcake Leaf has to go. It's not the show. Characters were funny.
Well, that's awesome, thank you.
Hey, this is a question for all of the writers. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen a show called Home Movies. They do this thing called retroscripting, where it's just like they just kind of make stuff up on the spot, or just like they have an outline. But have you guys ever given the voice actors like the chance to do improvisation, or just how do you do that?
I don't think I've never put it, in Pony, I've never put it in a script, like improvised while, I mean, I know some shows do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty.
It's very hard for us because we're in LA and they're all in Vancouver. We're not directors, we're not there, so.
Yeah, we're not involved with recording sessions. They probably do improv stuff, but I'm actually often surprised when I watch an episode. I'm like, oh yeah, those are my lines. That's cool.
Yeah, actually, a lot of times on scripted shows, sometimes you'll watch it and go, how did this happen? Things will get thrown out, whatever. Yeah, Pony, I'm always surprised it stays very, very, very close, word for word.
It does. Then things happen like the Lyra Bonbon scene where Andrea and Ashley, I was not expecting them to read it the way they did. There wasn't improv, like they read my dialogue, but the way they read it, I was like, oh, that's funny. I wasn't expecting that.
I find jokes that you do.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Hello. Would you pardon me for I am on the big screen? Quick question for both of you. Does family need a content?
You gotta get on the mic or
Closer down. It's hard to hear you.
try to get a disease from it. Like, get close.
Maybe love that mic.
Don't burn them.
Eat it. Thank you. Okay, so quick question. Does family need a content, either fan fiction or animations, does that ever hinder in the writing process, like copyright wise? Like you say, okay, how about the rest of the main six is which bodies? And you go, oh, and the professor saying, oh no, you cannot do that. Someone already wrote a fanfic about that. Does that ever happen?
You mean is somebody monitoring the fan fiction to make sure we're not ripping it off?
We don't read it. That's what I was asking about with like the slice of life stuff. It's like a lot of times it's a surprise to me. Like we don't really know what it is. And we have like a vague sense of it. And like you come into cons, it's like, oh, that's a thing. But like for the most part we don't, because yeah, we are not allowed to.
Yeah, we're not allowed to read.
So if we do rip off a fan fiction, it's completely coincidental.
Yeah.
It's that, hey, you have a good idea too.
Yeah, I mean, we're all playing in the same world, so it makes sense that there would be crossover.
It's also bound to happen. There's so much fan fiction and art and videos, and there's just so much of it. It's just bound to happen, you know.
All right, thank you for your time.
Hello. Okay, so I've got a tiny question and then I got a regular question. So the tiny question is, whose idea was it to add the Lebowski ponies?
That was mine.
Yeah.
The second question is, when it comes to writing major villains, as far as like arc villains like Chrysalis or Nightmare Moon or things like that, what character would you say has been the biggest inspiration on characters like that? Like in other media?
I just write jokes.
I mean, like for Chrysalis, I'm pretty sure Megan came up with that. She came up with Sombra. The big villains tend to be, you know, the finale kind of things, or you know, it's a lot of build-up. She came up with Starlight, and that was like art sheet, or an art sheet, that she had to develop, you know, and lace in through that whole season. So I think it's often whoever the head writer or story editor is spearheading that. Not that somebody couldn't come in and be like, hey, I have a great villain, but I think in those particular instances it was instigated by the head writer.
Okay, thank you.
My villains were like Flim and Flam and Discord, so I really like I like fun, funny villains. If I had to write like a somber, serious, I don't know if I could do it. I like fun, funny villains.
Thank you for writing those funny villains.
So what was Megan's notes for Sombra? He's bad and he likes crystals, I guess.
None of us had anything to do with that episode.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is just generally for you and the writing team, but Pinkie Pie has the same chaotic nature as Discord, but knows how to balance it with being considerate of others. So, how come she never played a role in Discord's redemption?
How come she never what? Played a role?
Played a role.
Telling us to wrap up.
I don't know. I think if the two of them got together, it might cause, you know, an explosion.
There's the potential to bring out.
You needed a Fluttershy to calm, not another chaotic energy.
You need lawful good.
Yeah.
I think that's right. It's the opposite nature of Fluttershy that made them a good match.
Yeah. So he needed a calming influence.
We need Fluttershy to both of them.
Yeah, they're telling us to wrap up. How many more can we
say
do?
wrap up? I think. Does that mean we have to literally?
Can we do like 20 more questions and that's it?
Who's in charge of it?
20?
500.
Somebody's going to throw us out. We're just going to keep.
Rapid fire.
They're going to cut our mics.
Go fast.
Go fast. Lightning round.
My question is for all three of you. I made a video on YouTube called My Little Pony Writers based on a parody of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
That was amazing. I should all watch it. It was funny.
Woo!
Very nice job.
Yes. And how did you react?
I thought it was really good.
It was awesome.
I mean, that took a lot of effort.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hard timing and rhyming and stuff.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Do you normally have to pitch your own episodes like Nick sounded like he did, or do you get assigned these basic plots and they say, here, go make a full episode?
We could talk about this for like an hour, so try to keep it short. It used to be all open-ended. We would come in, pitch things we loved and were excited about, and you would do that one. And over time, it's become much more and more like, here's your episode, and sometimes you don't click with it, and it's really hard to write. Sometimes you do.
But it's interesting because it's actually full circle. When the show started, it was here's your episode. I would get an email like, you're doing the one with the Nightmare Nights. I said, okay. It wasn't my idea, but okay. So then it switched to pitch our own, and then it switched back.
Yeah, we'd have these big story summits and just throw out ideas. But then, for instance, with Coloratura, Megan said, hey, you want to write this? And I said, yeah. And so, yeah, it can work both ways.
Thank you.
Hi, I was wondering if during the writing process you guys ever switched out characters, like you didn't like the way certain characters had chemistry and you wanted to change like Fluttershy or Applejack or something like that?
I definitely did on Cutie Map, and you guys were on with Boo, but I don't care because it worked. That was a really difficult couple of episodes, but Spike was there, and Spike made no sense because he didn't have a cutie mark, so he couldn't be brainwashed, and he broke the episode. Like having Spike there was like, it broke the episode. So I cut him out. No booing? Okay. Oh, yeah. I had Spike broing down with Big Mac back in Ponyville because then Fluttershy could be the one who's the heroine. So, yeah, that was one where Spike was actually the one who was the hero originally. And I was like, this is not working. It's too many characters. So I swapped it. It's Spike's fault. Yeah.
Spike the hero, right?
2 more, 3 more.
All right.
To the yes no questions, will Cupcake Leap return in the Easter egg?
I'm sorry?
Will Cupcake Leap return in the Easter egg? Will Cupcake Leap return in
Will Cupcake Leap be an Easter egg? Cupcake Leap is in Slice of Life. You look really closely.
Keep your eyes peeled.
And will Sombra return?
I don't know.
We can talk about it. Future episode.
We can't talk about future stuff and what's on the show. So, yes.
We can't help you.
I got a question for Emmy Larson. From all the way like season 2, I was wondering if there was any influence on how Princess Qullin was characterized, the big bombastic princess who is also an orc boy, can make an instant connection with children. It kept reminding me of Discworld's Death, so I wonder if that was an influence.
It reminded you of what?
Discworld's Death. It's a
Discworld. No, I don't even know what that is. So no.
It's a British fantasy series of novel, and Death is a character. And
Yes, yeah, I've heard of it. I don't know it. So no, but sorry.
There was any outside influence on how to build a character because she didn't have much of a character before that.
Luna?
Yeah.
What was the influence on the character?
Yeah.
So Lauren's original version of her was there's a TV show called Parks and Recreation. There's a character in there played by Aubrey Plaza. I don't know what the character's name is. And we wrote an entire draft of the script where Luna was that. She was just this kind of like sarcastic, sullen teenager. And this was a case where Hasbro's notes were really good. Hasbro's like, that's not fun enough. And then we're like, well, it makes sense. If she's been gone for 500 years, her mindset is still 500 years ago. So she's very formal. And, you know, kiss my hoof, like she's that kind of person. It made way more sense. It was way funnier. So it wasn't really based particularly on anyone. It was just, what would she be like if she hasn't been here in 500 years?
Well, thank you.
So this is the last one next? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, thank you. Sorry, I don't know Discworld. This is the last question, you guys, sorry.
This is, first I just want to say, Nick, I'm the only wallflower cosplayer I've ever seen today.
The only what cosplay?
Wallflower.
Wallflower?
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing! Also, I have a memory stone for you. That's also amazing!
It looks like silk. Can I wash myself?
But my question is for Nick, and it's where do you think that like human Starlight and like human Sunset are in the human world? Like, do you think they'll be at Everton? Like,
I can talk about anything except future episodes.
well, like in your mind, like where do you think?
In my mind?
If you like.
Well, but my mind is the future episodes.
So, you know,
Yeah, so you will find out.
Those are questions that I'm fascinated by as well. Let's just say that.
Aha.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.